From Church Militant Studios, this is the Church Militant Evening News.
Hello and thank you for joining us this Friday, February 24th. I'm James Fedua, along with Hunter Bradford here with Catholic News and Context. Tonight, the Vatican is separating itself from a case involving an accused archbishop. This state is eyeing a bill that could help teens kill babies without parents knowing, and this federal agency fires a security officer for targeting pro-lifers. Leading us off tonight, local officials are confirming details in the case of murdered Bishop David O'Connell. The Los Angeles District Attorney George Gascon said in a press conference Wednesday the suspect, Carlos Medina, has admitted to murdering the auxiliary bishop. The DA also clarified that Bishop O'Connell indeed sustained multiple gunshot wounds after previous reporting said he sustained, quote, at least one wound, leading to confusion.
Paramedics pronounced Bishop O'Connell dead at the scene. He was discovered suffering from multiple gunshot wounds. If convicted, Mr. Medina faces up to 35 years to life in prison.
A court in Guam has granted the Vatican's motion to be removed from a sex abuse lawsuit. The Guam District Court is removing the Vatican from the suit filed by an alleged victim of former Archbishop Anthony Apparon. The court cited the Foreign Sovereign Immunities Act. Chief Judge Francis Tadinko Gatewood also noted the court's, quote, lack of subject matter jurisdiction and personal jurisdiction. Apparon was originally found guilty of sexually abusing minors in 2018, later losing an appeal in 2019.
Pope Francis has nationalized all Vatican assets and property, declaring them to be owned by the Holy See and not any individual or office. Published Thursday, Francis's new law aims at centralizing Vatican assets to prevent further mismanagement and corruption. Francis declared the goods of the Holy See have a universal destination, and those responsible for them are trustees, not private owners, since they act, quote, in the name and under the authority of the Pope.
Traditionalist Catholics are resisting Pope Francis's anti-Latin Mass rescript published Tuesday. The rescript forbids bishops from permitting the Latin Mass in parish churches, despite canon law giving them the right to do so for the good of souls. Bishops will now have to apply to Rome for permission. Newly ordained priests will also be banned from celebrating the extraordinary form of the Mass without Vatican permission. But Dr. Joseph Shaw, president of the International Univoche Federation, believes the rescript is a farce. Shaw told Church Militant, we have heard from multiple sources that the dicastery had made it clear to bishops that asking for permission for newly ordained priests to celebrate the 1962 Missal will be refused. We also know that some bishops have asked permission and been refused. We have not heard of any newly ordained priest anywhere in the world being given permission. Accordingly, it is quite clear that having been given authority to exercise pastoral judgment on this issue, the dicastery has decided that no circumstances would justify giving permission.
And here with us to discuss this terrible but hardly surprising news is Church Militant Rome correspondent Dr. Jules Gomez. Jules, thank you very much for coming on. So how are trads fighting this rescript, Jules?
James, on the one hand, there is open rebellion. So, for example, I was reading a Scottish traditionalist blog, and members of the Sacred Heart in Bridgetown, Glasgow, where the traditional Latin Mass has just been stopped, are saying that they will no longer go to Mass, full stop. They will stay at home and read the lectionary and have what they call a dry Mass. They're also suggesting that they go independent if they find a priest. And others ask, isn't this Protestant? And the responses are, no, it isn't, because the circumstances demand it. On the other hand, from England, Dr. Joseph Shaw has much more obedient, shall we say, responses that remain faithful to the church. And he suggests that bishops could move the traditionalist Latin Mass from the parish church to another building, change the status of the parish church, find churches that are not Roman Catholic. The faithful could also have private masses in their homes for which no bishop's permission is needed. And Dr. Joseph Shaw says all this means going underground, but doing it in a way that does not break the law of the church.
Jules, obviously you're on the ground there in Rome. I'm wondering what else you're hearing there, and can you confirm what Dr. Shaw is saying?
Absolutely. I have seen letters with my own eyes, and I must say I've been taken aback by the tone and the deception in those letters, because on the one hand the Vatican is saying, yes, do write to us, we will give you permission, or we will consider giving you permission. And then when people have written these letters, the response has been shockingly dismissive, almost saying, why are you writing to us in the first place? You know, we cannot disobey traditionis custodes. That is what I'm not only hearing, but I'm seeing with my own eyes here in Rome, James.
Wow, I think a lot of people and a lot of priests, I'm sure, are very upset and confused by this, but obviously it's important for them to stay on the bark of Peter and not jump ship, as they say. But Jules, thank you very much for coming on and explaining this, and have a good weekend.
Thank you, James.
God bless.
Thank you, gentlemen. In related news, a U.S. bishop is criticizing the Vatican's new rescript targeting the Latin Mass. Province's Bishop Thomas Tobin tweeted, "The way the Vatican is dealing with the traditional Latin Mass does not seem to be the style of God." Pope Francis himself has emphasized that those who are attached to the TLM should be accompanied, listened to, and given time. Bishop Tobin was also critical of the heavy-handedness of the motu proprio following its release in 2021.
A new lawsuit is accusing a California diocese of shifting over $450 million in assets to diminish sex abuse payouts. Attorney Erwin Zalkin is representing around 120 sex abuse claimants against the Diocese of San Diego, alleging it transferred 291 properties into real estate holding companies in lieu of new California legislation.
Clearly, they waited to see what was going to happen with this legislation, and they waited till it passed before they transferred properties. That is fraud.
The diocese is accused of moving the properties between late 2019 and early 2020, just after Governor Gavin Newsom signed a bill allowing a 3-year window for abuse victims to file claims.
Last week, members of Church Militant's Cincinnati Resistance chapter protested an after-school satanic club for kids in 1st through 5th grade. Resistance teamed up with America Needs Fatima to pray 20 decades of the Rosary outside Donovan Elementary School in Lebanon, Ohio. The club is run by a chapter of the Satanic Temple and promises children science, projects, games, and tons of fun. When the club first began, the superintendent even asked the public not to protest on or near the school grounds.
And a story that media are just now getting a hold on. It's been discovered that a diocese in Germany celebrated Valentine's Day with a picture of 2 gay guys kissing. On February 14th, the Diocese of Aachen posted this disgusting picture with the caption, "If you would like to have your loved one blessed in the Diocese of Aachen, there are blessing celebrations or services in all regions." The diocese's bishop, Helmut Dieser, is a prominent homosexualist, even saying last year that same-sex attraction is God's will. Wow. All right, then. When we come back, lawmakers are closing in on explicit performances that have kids in attendance, and small business owners are finally getting what they are owed from this city. Stay tuned, all that and more up next.
Thank you for watching the first half of Church Militant Evening News.
If you would like to watch the rest of today's episode, please click the link in the description, and we'll see you at churchmilitant.com. God love you.